What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining me. Karan, I see you.
Hey there. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
I mean, I don't see you. I see you, that you popped up, and I felt your presence as you walked into this Facebook audio room.
You see me spiritually. That's all that matters.
I feel as though we definitely see each other spiritually.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for everyone who's joining in.
Karan and I are good friends. Obviously, we met on the show Jessie, where he was like my little brother, but now we're both in our 20s and we're chilling. Speaking of that, Peyton, hi.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Yes, we got the gang. Okay, we're all
Yes.
here. Okay, so we all did Jessie together, and Jessie was like such a successful show. So many people watched it. I'm sure that like you guys have a lot of stories of people probably coming up and saying what it meant to them and where they were at in their life as they were watching it. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I feel like I'm communicating with people constantly who have just discovered the show or their kids have just discovered the show. I feel like it's still living very well.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's super crazy because I still encounter fans that come up to me and go, "Hey, like I grew up watching the show. I thank you for it. Like it was a big part of my childhood," which is kind of weird because it's been so many years. So in a weird way, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that feels like a whole another life or
Right.
different chapter of my life." That is in a way closed. But for other people, it's still like very much open and very much alive.
Yeah, it's like preserved in this time capsule.
Oh, yeah. And I'll meet young kids from a whole new generation who are just now discovering the show and feel like it's new and maybe don't even recognize me because it's 10 years later and I look different or
Right.
whatever it is. And it's just funny because their older siblings, will. And it's a weird thing, but it's so fun.
Yeah,
It's
I love
also
it.
it's also weird to I'm sure just as much as we're frozen in time for a lot of people who have watched the show. Um, if for me the fans are also kind of frozen in time, like I forget that they age, and I'm like, why
Yes.
is I was like,
Yes.
why is this 25-year-old man telling me that he is a fan of the show? And I'm like, oh wait,
Right, right.
he was a kid when the show came out. Of course he watched it. So it's
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
when I meet people the same age as me now, I'm like, wait, we're adults? Oh my gosh. We're
it's
working now? Like this is so odd.
it's shocking. Especially I feel like I just keep discovering a girl like was walking by me the other day with like her son and she was like, "Did you hear that? He was born in 2004. So you guys are the exact same age." And I was like, "You can have a conversation with someone who was born in 2004." um, but no, I digress. And we're all in our 20s, and obviously it's been several years. And as much as we sort of feel that that experience was frozen in time, I know that people feel that we are as well. And I think that's something that we have all probably encountered is that people just they see it as what it was when we were teenagers and they think of us as being the same people, and that growing is sort of exponential. You guys have both always been mature, but I know when I started doing Sweet Life, my first Disney show, I was about the age pay that you were when you started Jessie, and I felt, I felt like I had lived a whole life. Like I was in high school. I was sort of, I didn't feel like a kid star by any means, and people would always ask, like, is this a lot of pressure to anchor a show and to become a public figure? And my instinct was always like, no, this is what I do, and I get to do this now for real, and it's really exciting, and I love it. And then throughout adulthood and untangling that, and sort of figuring out some of my neuroses and figuring out why I operate the way that I operate, I realized it was such an exponential amount of pressure that I didn't really clock at the time because I was so within it. And now in adulthood, I think my perspective has changed so much of like, wow, that is a lot to think about. And as much grace as they gave us, and they certainly, I'm sure that people think Disney is like this machine, but like I remember I would get migraines and I would have to lay down, and people were like, yes, go for it. We can rework the production schedule. Like it was never dehumanizing, but it just the the visibility, becoming such a public figure while you're still figuring out who you are. I mean, that is a lot of pressure. Did it feel like that to you guys? And how does it feel now?
I completely agree with you. I didn't feel like anyone watched the show until we would go to Universal or something and people would be stopping us, or we'd have our live studio audiences, and then I kind of realized, oh, people are seeing the show. But you're just a regular high school kid. Like we all were friends and we all felt very normal to each other. So I think yeah, exactly. We had like our set family and no one really thought, everyone treated us so normally. I didn't really think much of it until looking back now.
That's a perfect way to put it, Pay, because we were in such an incubator. We went to school on set. We worked on set. We spent a majority of our day on set. But at the same time, that incubator was a really safe space for us to grow up and figure out who we were and, you know, just be normal teenagers at the time. That it kind of just felt like, how do I put it? Just like an alternate version of school in a weird way.
Yeah.
And
like we went to a magnet school or something.
Yeah, except it's being broadcasted live to all of America. But I completely relate to that feeling, Pay, of, oh wow, people are seeing this, because in my head it was just, oh, we're shooting this for ourselves, like no one else is seeing this. This is just something fun that we do, and that we enjoy with our friends and our family.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, because I think by the time we started Jessie, and I had spent several years doing it and seen a lot of people who have only ever been famous or been actors or had to sort of go and do press and you know, announce things to millions of people and so many different across different cultures, the sort of handling and shouldering the weight of that with such ease, because, or seemingly with such ease, because that was what their life was. I wanted to make sure going into Jessie and creating that environment that we all felt that it wasn't this in place of a childhood, but that it was just sort of this magical, I think incubator is like the right way of saying that, like world for a childhood. And if we had to, you know, work on Halloween, we would all dress up and go trick-or-treating. And that was like, that was the crew. I mean, Susie and like everyone was just so wonderful in every single department to make sure that we were people first. And that I especially now talking with so many of my peers, I'm sure you guys have, you know, you've been on countless sets since we wrapped. I realize now, like, not every set is like that. And to be able to have that at such a formative time, I think it did allow us to not realize the pressure. But then knowing that, like, you know, if I broke my leg or something skateboarding, that production was completely altered around that. And this is a huge machine with, you know, hundreds and thousands of people's jobs relying on us showing up and doing our job. And I think, I don't know if you guys felt the weight of that at the time or now have reflected a little bit back on that. And also it was nice, I would say, after Jessie, for me to go and like play the best friend in something and sort of go do this quiet indie movie and just, you know, do smaller roles in bigger projects or different things. And it allowed me to realize that it doesn't always have to be like on your shoulders.
Yeah, I think, well, one, we had a lot of people, particularly you, Deb, that helped equip us for what we were about to experience. And I mean, personally, I think I can speak for both Pay and I when I say, like, we're very grateful for that. Because
Thanks.
we didn't know exactly what that experience was going to entail and what kind of responsibility that was fully going to entail. But I think a lot of people on set did a really good job, including you, of kind of gently passing on that weight. And we understood the stakes, but at the same time, that didn't stop us from having a good time. And I know every actor in every interview says, "Oh my God, being on set was so much fun. It wasn't a job. It was all play." And you know, some of that is it can be BS, like based on like, you know, the different kinds of sets you can be on, and sometimes that's very true. And I think, and particularly for Jessie, that was very true. I think we spent a majority of that time cracking up and laughing than we did feeling stressed out or anxious during that time. But you're right. Afterwards, it was, you forget how much you're doing. Like, sitcom is so fast paced just in general as a format. That you forget, like, oh yeah, there are different types of things we can do in terms of acting that's a bit more like slow pace. Like doing a movie would be nice, like, or an indie, just to like pace things down a little bit. You realize, oh wow, sitcom is very fast paced. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's interesting, and that means a lot that you said that. A friend and I were talking the other day, and she was sharing the concept. She has written above her desk, take your work seriously, but never yourself. Like, don't take yourself seriously, but take your work seriously. And I think that's what it was. It was like, all right, this is our homework. So we're going to study our lines. And like, this is what we're doing. Similar, like you said, it's just a different type of school. And then, and now it's playtime and there's room for fun and there's room for all of that. So I'm glad that came
Yeah.
across. And I think that magic is probably what people feel when they watch it and they feel that it feels like a party every day.
Well, it's true, Debbie. Like you also have great comedic timing, and I feel like you now looking back, I realize how young you were when you started Jessie, and like you helped create it with Pam and everything. And at the time, you seemed, like an adult figure to me. But then looking back, you were what, 18 years old when you
Yeah.
started it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like you brought us on trips to Disneyland and like got us all the cool gadgets and toys and like made it just seem like such a fun experience. And I feel like, I mean, I respect you like even more now at this age. Like obviously I looked up to you because I'd watched you already on TV, but then looking back at it now, I'm just like, wow, that's pretty impressive that an 18-year-old did all that.
Yeah, I
Oh.
remember particularly a moment on Bunked when Pay and I looked at each other and we were like, "Oh, we get it now. We
Yeah.
understand. We understand what Debbie was going through." But Peyton and I and Sky, we had the privilege of having each other, so that weight felt very distributed.
Mm.
And in retrospect, we were like, "Oh, wow, that." I know you're talking about pressure on us at such a young age. I think we can throw that back at you. Like, what was that pressure like at 18 to, you kind of were wedged between a little bit of a rock and a hard place where you were working with a production and having to be an adult, and you were also surrounded by a bunch of kids who you had to be an adult with. So there was no real room to be a teenager from our lens. It was just, no,
Yeah.
Debbie is the adult. She's helping lead the ship.
That's interesting. I yeah, thanks for saying that. I think that it was just like gratitude, like the fact that I could actually do that and that it wasn't just like I'm going to try and do this while I'm going through school and use that any money that I make for college and then like I never as big as I dreamed, I never imagined that it would really work out to this degree. And when Sweet Life came to an end and we started developing Jessie, and I was like, let's do this. Why not? I think I was simultaneously young enough to not realize that 18-year-olds didn't do that, and also like just aspirational enough, but also like maybe old enough to be like, all right, great, this is what I'm doing. If this is my job right now, like let me shape this into a career. But also, you guys made it so easy and so fun. And I think being around you guys' energy, being so professional, but also so playful and insightful, it really felt. I also think because all of our ages were like slightly staggered, that we all, it wasn't just like there were a bunch of young kids and then Kevin Chamberlain. You know what I mean? Like it sort of was like we were all like in different phases of life, but going through it together. And yeah, I learned a lot from you guys, and you guys also did carry a lot of that with me. Like I sort of got to go into the producer's room and do that, but on set and making people laugh and in the live audience and the way that you guys showed up, I mean, it's magical and it's effervescent, and that followed through on Bunked and it's followed through in you guys' careers. I know Peyton and I were talking about this though, like the idea of Peyton, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? The idea of like identity.
Yeah, well, I was just kind of wondering because now personally, looking back on it all, like I have so many more questions for both of you, but I was just wondering because I remember Debbie, like seeing you turn 21 growing up and all these things. And and your friends would come in and hang out and they were all musicians and you were just like meeting Josh during that time, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was just kind of wondering how you developed your own self and your own personality separate from, being this like Disney star and this person, being the
Hmm.
lead. I was just wondering how you separated your whole self and created yourself and like found who you were.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean, I think we're always doing it. I am. I also think that I've spent a lot of time paying attention to how I react to things. If something is exciting but then it's always disappointing, or if it doesn't do anything good for me, then there's no space for that. I'm sort of at capacity. And maybe it was because being busy at a young age, but just living at a place where I know my capacity and saying there's only room for the true things that light me up and that fortify me and that make me laugh and that make me think, whether it's like this sort of musician, this person with this strange point of view, this weird art exhibit. I just think that I studied a lot of people and what they like and what they are inspired by, and then tried to trace like being cool back to the source. You know, if like I was around someone, or if you saw a piece of art or a film or a moment between strangers, or if I moved my body in the type of way, or someone asked a question that I didn't know how to answer, so I went home to learn more about it. Like anything that was continuing to interest me, I gave some space for, which I think that, you know, I've been candid with you guys about this and you guys saw some of it. Like I have realized that I needed to limit that space because I was inspired by a lot and not all of it was for me. Not all of it was good for me. But I do think that, you know, anything that really like interests you and leaves you feeling better and good and safe, that's a good thing and a cool thing. And all of those sort of become this mosaic of your personality. And I think it is about not trying to be defined by one thing, especially when it's like, okay, who are you? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite music? Great. Now we're going to put it in a magazine and blast that around. And then people legislating you. Because also during Jessie, social media started happening more and more. So instead of during Sweet Life, I would just give an interview in a magazine. But then I was getting feedback during Jessie, and people were like, that's not your favorite color. You said this was your favorite color in 2010. And I'm like, well, aren't we allowed to change? Aren't I 18 or whatever? But yeah, I think that just collecting those things that I like and then decorating the walls of my soul and my brain and my home and my closet and my life with them, that allowed me to learn about myself a lot and still continues to. And then the more that I feel that I've given my soul a lot of places to go that don't have my identity wrapped up in how well I did or how good that looks or whatever, that allows me to like trust her. You know, I'm really like getting sort of self-esteem, not from what I'm doing or who I am to people publicly, but who I am as a daughter and as a sister and as a friend. And yeah, and then I've begun to trust myself, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Now, Deb, can kind of just going after Peyton's coattails here, just, you know, like talking about how you met so many interesting people and unique people and important people at such a young age in your life. I'm the biggest Jebby fan. You know that. Stan, I should say. But you've hit so many milestones at such a young age, and I think one of them is finding your person at such a young age. What was that? What is that like? Is that overwhelming?
Please tell us.
That's such a good question. I would say, just for anyone who's just joining us, I'm Debbie. I'm here with Karan and Peyton, and we're talking about identity. We're talking about finding ourselves, talking about Jessie, but we're also talking about, Karan just asked what it's like finding my person at such a young age. I mean, you guys can relate. You don't realize how young you are until you look back, right? Like it was the oldest I had ever been. And I'd been around a lot of different types of people, but I think that it's really complicated, to be honest. I was so used to finding myself in relationship to tasks and production and what people needed me to accomplish and to be. And I think that it can be a struggle for anyone to retain their identity in relation to such an important relationship, you know? And I think that I moved around a lot growing up, always being the new kid, having to reinvent myself in relation to changing and growing new environments and cultures. And then, you know, growing up clumsily as a teenager in front of a bunch of people, like I think it would have been very easy to lose myself and just say, I don't want to carry the weight of having my own identity right now. Let me just absolve it into someone else's. I think that that is something specifically around women that I find that my female friends and I talk often about is, you know, how not to lose yourself in a relationship. And I mean, I would say it's really a testament to my husband, to Josh. I mean, he is, fortunately, you guys know him, he's literally the kind of person who, and we've also just built the kind of love that hold space for all of the unique and independent and personal things about ourselves and about each other. And so while it is such a tumultuous world, both as a public person and at that age, like early 20s, I think with him, I feel connected to who I am, which is really like a blessing. And he sort of helped me find my way home in a sense. I think the fear of like finding your person young or marrying young is that we all continue to change so much. And we see a lot of people changing differently apart from their partners or getting bored or getting complacent or annoyed or becoming strangers with each other. And I didn't want that. And I really wanted to, the way that I felt like butterflies. I wanted to keep that, and I didn't know if it was possible to keep that after knowing someone for so long. But I do think that it's important to, like, number one, make that decision of being someone's partner, especially marriage, particularly just making the decision of marriage, knowing exactly what you're committing to, and the acknowledgement of the fact that we change so much. And then two, continuing to choose that relationship and each other and to be each other's partner in those shifts, the major ones and like the small sort of little daily ones that can really add up. So I think it's like intention and communication, and we have a lot of fun together. We have a lot of grace for each other. That seems to keep any like weirdness away from the core of us. And you know, we just hold space for each other to make sure that we're like confirming our own identities. We're both really independent people. So I think it's helpful with Josh in particular, where we're both just so about what the other person's doing, and it keeps me from sort of like turning into mush and being just like whatever, you know, people need me to be. I think that like codependent, like people pleaser part, it's really prevalent in actors. I noticed it a lot in myself. And I wanted to make sure that our love was really built on us knowing exactly who we were and being so firm in who we are. And then from there, encouraging the other person to do that and building something together. I think that's good love. I think that is what I think people should always check in and make sure that their relationships protect and provide their friendships, their family dynamics, their working relationships, creative collaborators, but certainly your most intimate relationship. I think anything healthy grows. And yeah, I don't know. It's been really beautiful to grow alongside him.
You guys are two very special people, and we were so I mean, it was really cool to see you guys find each other at such a young age and watch that relationship blossom into like what it is now. And also, and I fully idolize your guys' relationship, because I'm like, God damn, I want to find my person like Debbie and Josh have found each other. And I don't know, what you guys are doing is cool, so keep it up, you know?
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you guys are really special, and you guys have so much love to give. I'm really excited to see who those people end up being for you guys, because I know that they're going to be incredible, and you know that I'm going to give them a very hard time to make sure that they are worth you. But yeah, I'm always here for that advice. And if you ever want to come and hang out at our little tree house in Columbus, I think that's another thing. We moved to Columbus, Ohio, where he's from, and that is really helpful for us to just sort of know that, you know, our little corner of the sky is ours, and it's open to come hang in our treehouse. I know you guys are, Karan, you just moved. Pay, you're about to move. And I think after like where we've all spent the pandemic, like having clocked time in those places and all of that, it's such a challenge how you design your space and your environment as you're evolving, whether you're moving out without a roommate for the first time, car, or like, and just really sort of creating a space that's not informed by sharing it with other people. And like, Pay, I know that you were talking about going and coming back. Like, how are you guys feeling in your environments, and how are you sort of taking accountability and making them feel good for you?
Yeah, well, I just got back from Canada, and before that, Atlanta. So I was gone for 6 months, and I came back to my home, which I had been quarantining in LA. And coming back home was just, I was so excited to finally come back, and I just did not recognize the space anymore. Everything just felt foreign to me, and I just wanted to get out and really just like get rid of a lot of things and live super minimally, where I can just pick up and travel at any moment. Like, I think that's more important. I realize like experiences over stuff. And yeah, so I'm moving like half a mile away to something where I could have a guest room where people could, because I only have my room right now, and I just want like to be able to have family or friends when they come to visit. And I think now more
Nice.
than ever, I'm like I'm at home doing work like everyone else from home more than ever. So um, I'm just excited to start fresh. But
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said about experiences over stuff. I think it could be so
mhm.
easy to try and represent ourselves in like things around our house, but I love that as a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a hoarder. Like everything has a memory, and I won't get rid of
Yeah.
anything. Like I have random things from Jesse even that are
Same.
underneath my bed, like little notes you guys gave me and things.
Oh.
And it's just like, oh my God, like I love them, and I but I just keep all of that like a gum wrapper or
Yeah, I'm
something. It's
always like,
just
I'm gonna make this into a collage, and I don't.
yeah, yeah. I don't either. And then I'm like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite side of the boat, Pay, where I'm like, I'm accumulating more stuff than experiences. Or, I
Yeah.
mean, getting my first place, I should say, is an experience. But I think, like most people in 2020, our mental health was going through it. And I decided to take some more space to really focus on my mental health for the first time in my life, really. Um,
Heck
and
yeah.
and it was great, and I was really happy with the steps I took to take care of myself. And out of that experience, I was like, I want a space for myself,
Yeah.
that is truly mine. And I you guys know me very well. You know how independent of a person I am.
Mhm.
And you know like from that, I've wanted to have my own independent space. And though I have had space, like, my parents never really smothered me. They always let me do my own thing. It's not that so much. It's more so that I just wanted to come home to something that was like, oh, this is my home. This is my
Yeah.
space.
Hmm.
Every part of it feels like a part of me. Um, and that's kind of what I've been accumulating. I am realizing that furniture shopping is a pain in the butt.
Ugh,
Yes.
it sucks.
Yeah.
I
It's
think I'll sleep on the
so,
floor.
yeah, yeah, truly. It's like so confusing, and the scale, that's the trickiest thing. Is like you're telling me I'm supposed to measure every wall and then measure a couch. Like, no, that'll do. It's a couch. A couch is a couch. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm really trying to get through priorities on that. I know like every once in a while I'll just send Karan like a link to a piece of furniture that I saw because I am also decorating our place. And so when I see something that I'm like, oh, this is sick. This sort of looks like his style. I'll just like send it to you. And you might be like, that's not at all my style. But just so you know, that's what I think of you.
I was about to say that's what Debbie thinks her style is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peyton, just wait for the links I'm about to send you. It's going to be like
I can't wait.
inflatable orange furniture.
Hey, that
Deb
sounds
just
sick,
sends
actually.
some. Deb sends really good deals, by the way. So
Yeah.
Oh, I
it's
love
I'm a
that.
bargain hunter. I'm a
Oh,
bargain hunter.
well, speaking of, like, I'm like Facebook Marketplace. That place is great. I'm about to go
Yeah.
on there for sure.
You're right. And it's so good for sustainability. I think it's really good for our environment and our world to keep things in the system. But also, hey, I'm similar. Like, I'm sort of a hoarder. So for me, I'm like, okay, there's value in this. And I can only get rid of it if I know that someone else will get value out of it. So, like, swapping things with
Yes.
people or like Facebook Marketplace or Depop or whatever, that's great. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
There's ways. All right. Well, I would say, Karan, really quickly, you touched on mental health and taking a moment for mental health. And I wanted to know, like, in terms of expanding on that, I think it can just be, and we've had this conversation, it can be really easy for us to just keep going and go on the grind and do the thing and not check in and be like, how am I doing? And you've always been like very aware, but I do think that because of the way that the three of us grew up and maybe this pressure that we don't even realize, it sort of is like, okay, if there's any part in me that can continue, then that part is going to win. But I don't think that's good or healthy or valuable, and that can lead us to burnout. I did an episode of my podcast, There You Are, about burnout a week ago, because it's a thing that people have been asking so much about. And I know that some things can be so cumulative, and we were really close with Cameron Boyce and Cara. I know you guys were best friends, and that, I think, grieving him in particular in your own way, and then but in addition to grieving him, the things that happen where life doesn't stop when things change, right? And so you have to, people are still like, I'm sorry for your loss. Can you get this thing in by Friday? And you're like,
Yeah.
Are you sorry?
Yeah.
um, but I think that it can become so cumulative if you don't make eye contact with it. And something I admire so much about you is that you are vocal and open about the importance of making eye contact with it, and the fact that you took that time to prioritize for yourself. I think that is, and maybe it was certainly overdue, but I think that I mean, you're such a good role model. Like, I really admire that.
Aren't I such a great role model, guys? I mean, thanks for finally.
Peyton, isn't he such a good role model?
Just the best.
No, I think
You are though, Car.
It's
Oh,
true.
thanks. I think one thing that we all accumulated from being, I like to call it a recovering child actor, is that we all developed a level of workaholism, because you're just so used to, it's a part of our society and it's so a part of our industry to just go on to the next thing and want to jump onto the next thing, which can be good. It's a really exciting and fulfilling and purposeful way of life. But at the same time, it's so important to, a good friend told me this, which is, it's important to say ouch when it hurts. And it's such a simple saying, but it's so important, because otherwise, where are you going to end up? You're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to end up in a worse spot than you were before. And as important as accolades are in life, and as fulfilling as they can be, you're not going to get to them if you just are running in the same spot. You know what I mean?
And they won't fulfill you once you do get to them. I think that giving every sort of hurt, it's the value of like that ouch is huge, and that's so important. And Pei, is there anything that you like to do to sort of give yourself a moment? I feel like whenever, even as a kid, you were always like, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to go for a hike. I feel like you had such a good relationship with like movement and your body, and just deciding to like get sunshine. Like, we would just eat lunch outside. Like, I think that you seem to be like a sunflower. Like, you know how sunflowers grow towards the sun? They have their faces like up towards the sun. That's you. You're like, I'm going to just draw from the life source. I think you're so good at that. I admire that.
Role model. So nice. It's so funny. I don't remember being that way, but that's funny that you say that. I think it was because my mom was like so active, and I'd be like, oh gosh, like lagging behind her on a hike or something after set. And Maybe. I'd be like, yeah, I love this. This is great. But then I actually ended up loving it. And she kind of showed me that like that has been the best thing for my mental health. It's just like, all right, I can't escape this. So I'm just going to go on a run. And I kind of realized that when I was in Canada, and I went back into quarantine before filming, and I was in this hotel room and could not leave or go outside. And then I realized, holy shit, I can run free. I can go. And I was never really a runner, but I started going on I worked my way up to 8-mile runs a day. And it was like the best thing for my mental health. And I've never felt happier in my life. I need to get back to it because I completely fell out of it after getting home. But that really, just having the freedom to run and go, that is just, because there's so much that's uncontrollable in our business, and so much of what's happening in the world right now. But to be able to move your body, that is the best thing for my mind.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a good point. 8 miles is absolutely punishing for me. I want to congratulate you on even being able to dream of that, much less doing that.
Okay. I'm not going to act like I was running the whole thing at all. I was definitely slowly
Intervals.
Walking and looking around, but I made it.
Dude, that's awesome. No, I want to get back into moving my body. Josh loves it. Josh loves to run. I don't really experience that bliss, that runner's high, but I will say that the gratitude that comes with exactly what you were touching on, of being like, okay, with everything being uncertain and so much being out of our control, something we can control is our relationship with our bodies and movement. And a lot of people, like a good handful of people that I'm really close to and that I love dearly, they have limited mobility. They're not as able-bodied as we are. And it's something that, in conversation with them, they're like, that's a gift. And I'm like, you're right. that gratitude, for me to complain about a run, but then it's but I can. And that that already is something that I always try to stay really mindful of, is the fact, and that can be anything. That's like the fact that I'm in a place where I have sunshine. There are places that are gray like 12 months out of the year, you know, and we have sunshine like where we're at, and we have friends and conversations and lessons that we've learned. And, you know, I think that that's something that is really key for me to be grateful for.
Yeah, 100%.
But I always like to end these conversations by asking, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful to be reunited with you two today and to be talking with both of you and catching up. Like, it brings me so much joy to just hear what's going on in your lives, and it's comforting because I mean, you guys were my high school, my middle school, parts of my middle school even. Like, you guys were so much of my life. So anytime I get to hang out with you guys and talk to you guys, just it feels so safe and comfortable. And even I can't forget that we have all these people on right now, because I love talking to you both. So I'm very grateful. And also, Debbie, like, just to hear how you've gotten through everything and how you've navigated life. Like, you and Josh, I love just looking at your Instagram and keeping up with you guys, because I feel like you've navigated it so well and so beautifully. And Karan, like, just even seeing you as well, like, you're just, I mean, I listen to, when you have podcast interviews or whatever it is, like, I listened to your thing with Jeanette recently, and it was just so cool hearing you like, turn into the person you are. And I learn a lot from both of you, and I have throughout my whole life. So
I love it. I feel the same. I didn't know I was going to cry. I feel like Peyton's made me cry twice on this one. He made me cry so early on.
Oh, I know. I almost started crying. I'm like, I did not expect this.
Wow. Oh, hello, feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, been a while, guys.
Yeah.
I am grateful. I'm gonna steal Peyton's, because it feels so true. But chosen family. A chosen family is such a special and important part of life, and it feels so important to have choice. And I'm very grateful to have choice, and where it's led me so far, and the people that I've been able to accumulate as friends, as mentors, as partners. So choice and chosen family.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, choice. That's so huge. I would say I'm definitely grateful to be talking with you guys, and exactly that dynamic, to know that anytime I'm around you guys, it does feel safe. And it's interesting. I think as we've all grown, that the like age gap, which feels so big when some people are in middle school and some people are out of high school, it really feels so much smaller. And I do feel like, you know, it's not like, oh, those are my little siblings. It's like, yeah, like these kids are awesome. Like these are like full blown young adults who are doing things, and like we're just talking, and I'm learning so much from you guys. And I just, it feels like such a blessing to be able to feel safe with you guys and feel like such a direct tie to like a thing that was a really huge global thing that we still feel the effects of. But because we haven't been making the show for so long, the feeling that was at the core is like few and far between and hard to touch on. So it's so nice to feel that. Like when we had that dinner, like just this, like feeling this is so, it's so beautiful and such a gift. And it really only exists like in this situation. And I was just texting with Sky and invited her to be on my podcast, and I want to grab dinner with Kevin. And so I feel like we should all just, first of all, hang whenever I'm back in town. We should all get tested and then have a dinner. I'll cook for you guys. But that's, yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for chosen family. I'm grateful for choice and to feel safe in relationships with people, and conversations and perspective. You know, it's so huge. As much as I feel like I know you guys, like the closest people that you know, when you just ask them their perspective on something and realize that everyone sees things from a different lens, it's a really beautiful way to round out your perspective. And so thank you guys so much for your openness and your honesty and your wisdom and just talking. I know that everyone has been enjoying it. I'm seeing all these like thumbs up and these hearts and everything from people, and that's really sweet. But my soul is giving a heart and a thumbs up right now. Corny, so corny. Um,
You know, it's funny because people will sometimes ask us, "Do you like them? Like, do you like each other?" And I hope,
All the time.
Yeah.
all the time. And I hope this this audio room answers that question. Like, yes, we do actually like each other.
Yeah, either that or we're like way better actors than anyone ever knew.
Yeah, damn, I need an Academy Award for this one.
She's putting up with us so hard. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Karan, Peyton, thank you for joining us. Best of luck on you guys' moves. We'll see you guys
Thank
soon.
you. Thanks, guys, for listening. And Debbie, thanks for having me on.
I love you.
Guys.
Karan
Love
and
you.
I are both on the board of advisory for the Cameron Boyce Foundation. They do great work. And if you want to learn more about the beautiful ways that they've continued Cam's heart, we want to encourage you to check out www.thecameronboycefoundation.org. They have really cool designs and clothing and apparel with Cam's art and some collaborations with some folks that you love. So check them out. You can even consider donating as a joint birthday gift for the three of us. If you missed our birthdays, you guys.
Yeah, well.
So if you want to make things right, go ahead and slam a little donation or grab yourself or your friends some of the gifts from over there. And then you can find Karan, Brar, and Peyton List under their names on social media. Obviously, you guys can see their Facebooks here. You can check them out on Instagram. And then stay up to date on their projects and their personal projects, moving and decorating and chilling. Or you can just, just give us all jobs. We are recovering child actors. We would love to hang. And then on Instagram, I'm at Debby Ryan and at There You Are Pod. ThereUR Pod. If you want to comment on there or on our Instagram some of your favorite quotes and moments from today, I'd like to hear them. I'm sure they would too. So have a good weekend, you guys. I'll be back Monday with a couple ladies that I admire. So make sure RSVP to that event. And in the meantime, we love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Love you guys.